Okay. Hello. Welcome to the Weeb Warriors Podcast. I'm Jake.
I'm James. This little guy is Charizard.
And I'm Morgan, and this is Pikachu.
And a late arrival from Eevee is there for you. So basically this is just a quick, well, I say quick, it's not really quick, but it's a podcast designed to appease the weebs, our fellow weebs. So we'll be talking about anime, manga, Japan culture, current news, anything that sort of fits the bill, really. It's the first episode, so bear with us if there's any mistakes or errors. We're working on it.
Yeah.
But hopefully we've got it all set up and working. So, the first thing we're going to do is talk about anime or manga. So, we've kind of prepared something already for this section, in which it will hopefully tell you a little bit more about us and what we like about anime and manga particularly. So we've each done an anime tier list of anime that we've all watched or had like one or two of us watch maybe. And we're going to discuss it and hopefully take the piss out of each other because people might be wrong, who knows.
Yeah.
So
People
James,
might be wrong.
Yeah.
It's all opinions, guys.
It's not, yeah, but your opinion might be wrong. James, I think you want to go first to share your...
Oh, can't wait, guys. I'm excited.
Yeah.
He's gonna have a little rest.
Yeah. Bye, Charizard.
Bye.
Okay.
I'm scared for mine. I feel like I'm going to get ripped into.
You are.
So, can everyone see it?
Yes, we can.
Yes.
Okay,
Right,
so
what are we doing?
do you want to
start
talk
from
us?
the top?
Yeah, talk us through it from the top to the bottom.
So, the gods here I've put in Kill la Kill and Naruto. But for two kind of different reasons. So Naruto, first of all, is my favorite anime of all time, and it's also the anime that I grew up with. So like, obviously, I think everyone probably started with Pokemon, but like,
yeah, Pokemon
I was way
kind
younger.
of,
Like,
it was
I didn't know what anime was.
It was kind of the gateway anime, wasn't it? Pokemon. But
well, I was like in primary school when I was watching Pokemon, so I didn't know what I didn't know what anime was. I just thought it was a cartoon.
yeah,
So, but like with Naruto, I was old enough to start understanding that like this was a Japanese thing, and it was like that I enjoyed it.
I think.
And
Yeah,
it's kind of like been there forever.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty much the same. I didn't really know what it was. I encountered it through AMV videos, animated music videos, or like the Linkin Park kind of sort of AMVs and all that used Naruto clips, and I was like, oh, this looks cool.
Breaking Benjamin.
Yeah, Breaker Benjamin, Linkin Park,
3
Days Grace. Yeah, there you go. So that's how I encountered it.
So, I mean, that's the main reason why Naruto's up there. It's just like, it's the constant one that's like always been there. It's, in my opinion, the best anime ever made, which I know almost everyone from the West would disagree with, because it's a gateway anime. But I'll get onto that when I talk about One Piece. So, Kill la Kill I put in God tier because aside from Naruto, which I feel like has got a little bit of nostalgia that comes with it, that gets it to the God tier, I think Kill la Kill is a phenomenal piece of like production. Like, it's not only has it got a cool story, even though it's totally insane, but that's like classic anime anyway. It's literally, I mean, the story is basically some clothes take over the world. But it's also like it kind of mocks other anime. Like, it doesn't take itself seriously. It has a lot of jokes and digs at other anime.
I suppose that's kind of in line with what One Punch Man is. It's kind of like a parody of anime itself.
Yeah, it's basically just a parody, but also it's good. Like, despite that, so it's
the
like it's my favorite anime aside from like I think like the bigger animes as well, like Naruto. It's easier for it to be your favorite because it goes on for so long.
Yeah,
it's like it's always there. This is like a short anime and it's just amazing. So like I wanted to put it in God tier for that reason.
That's fair enough. Yeah. Okay.
Moving on to the S, I've got Boku no Hero and Death Note, which are two vastly different animes.
I was gonna say you couldn't pick two different ones to go for S rank, but go on.
So Boku is in there because I feel like it's very similar to like the classics, like the gateway animes, like Naruto and One Piece and that, but it's new, and it's kind of got that vibe to it. Like for me, when I started watching it, it reminded me of Naruto, which is why I really liked it. And obviously, if you're a fan of Naruto, then you presumably are going to be a fan of it. And it feels like it's going to be one of those ones that goes on for a while and people will enjoy for a long time. It's got cool characters. And yeah, it's just like, it's got that Naruto vibe to it for me. And I just feel like out of all the new anime that are coming through, like people are saying it's in the new big three and that, and it probably is. Like I would say that's accurate.
Yeah, that's the same for me. When I started watching it, I did get mad Naruto vibes from it. But I can expand more upon it because all of these anime are in all of our lists. We've all ranked them differently, but I'll explain more my personal stuff about it when we get to my list. But I definitely agree with that. It does feel very Naruto-esque.
Death Note is in there because it's phenomenal. Like, it's probably one of the like cornerstone animes that people know when they think of anime. It's only short, again, like similar to Kill la Kill, but I just think the story of Death Note is amazing. Like, the mystery and the twists and the turns and things in the story. That's cool.
Yeah.
I feel like it's one that everyone should watch. If you're just getting into anime, or if you are into anime and haven't seen it, you should watch it. Because it's amazing. Like, there's a reason people like these animes. There's a reason they're like so big and people love them.
It is a very different style of anime, though. It's not your typical like fashion anime. It's very it's more puzzly and like detective-y than action-packed. But it still has a bit of that.
Not all anime has to be action-packed.
No, it doesn't. I'm just saying it differs from the typical.
Which can be a good thing.
Yeah, definitely.
It's nice to change things up. A lot of people would probably say that like the big three are very similar. Like episodic, and it's all about fighting and whatnot. But this isn't. It's got a cool story. So,
fair enough.
In A, I've put One Piece and Attack on Titan. Which, I mean, I'll get on to One Piece when I talk about Dragon Ball, because they're kind of linked. But Attack on Titan is kind of a new one. I know it's kind of old now, but it was like, I was in uni when Attack on Titan came out, as opposed to these others, which were like when I was a kid. And I remember when it came out, like, episode 1, when Eren got killed, and everyone was like, oh, holy shit, this is, fam, it's episode 1. Go and watch it. If you haven't seen it yet, what are you doing here on the Weeb Warriors Podcast?
That's true.
Everyone was like, oh, it's the Game of Thrones of anime. Like, they're not asked about like killing the characters. They're just like, I thought this guy was the main character and he's dead in the first episode. And like, everyone's freaking out about it. And it's just like, it's super gory, but it's got a cool story. Badass, like the Titans themselves are awesome. And again, similar to Death Note, it has a lot of like little twists and turns. And it's like, you think you know what's happening, but you don't. And I like that kind of thing. Like, Lost is one of my favorite all-time TV shows. And it reminded me of that. And like, things would pop up and you'd be like, what is going on? Like, I thought I knew what was happening, and now I've got no idea what's going on. And I think as you get older as well, you appreciate stories like that a little bit more than just like the Dragon Ball style of story.
Yeah, it keeps you on edge, keeps you in suspense, and it kind of means that you can't just watch it and be like, okay, this is gonna happen next. Like, it's not predictable.
Which brings me on to the B section, which has got Dragon Ball in it. So I've put One Piece in A and I've put Dragon Ball in B because I think out of the big three, Naruto, One Piece, and Dragon Ball, Naruto is my favorite anime of all time. It's getting god tier. One Piece and Dragon Ball, I think they're important. I think they're hugely important to anime culture, especially in the West, because they were like everyone's gateway anime. They were on like Cartoon Network and stuff. So like everyone sort of grew up with them, especially Dragon Ball, I think. Like, I feel like less people know about Naruto in the West. I think Dragon Ball was way more popular.
Oh yeah, definitely.
But to me, like, I came into One Piece late, so it wasn't one that I grew up with, whereas Dragon Ball and Naruto were. But I, like, as much as I like Dragon Ball, I don't think its story is that good. Like, it has pretty lazy story writing to me. I feel like every season is like, there's a tournament and then a villain comes and they beat the villain and then that's the end. And then there's a tournament again.
Filler episodes and stuff.
And it's like, it has cool action scenes and stuff, but
In terms of story.
as an anime, like, yeah, if I was like, I had to pick, because I don't know if we're gonna mention the fact like we wanted to put one in every section.
Yeah, this is heavily biased and heavily strict because we didn't want to put everything in the higher tiers, so we are being very cynical with it.
I had Dragon Ball in S, and I had to move it when I started putting One Piece, and I was like, "There's like One Piece is better than Dragon Ball. Like it just is. I'm sorry. Like it has a better story. It's more interesting. There are more interesting characters. Like I love the Vegeta and stuff, but like it's very 2-dimensional. I think Dragon Ball. It's like as cool as it is, it's not the most intricate storylines. So that's why it's there. Similarly, Pokemon is in B because Pokemon is like the greatest thing in the world as a franchise, but its anime is not brilliant. Especially once you start watching other anime. Like it's probably everyone's first anime, but when you actually start seeing what's out there, it's like, oh, yeah, it's not that great.
Do you think that's because it was kind of one of the first ones to be more westernized, so it was kind of still figuring out what the Western audience preferred?
Would accept.
Yeah.
I just think they probably, I mean, a lot of anime is crazy in it. Like, I think there's probably a sort of like, I don't know if they're going to like this. Like Evangelion is crazy. Like, compared to like the kind of stuff that we would watch, especially if we're talking cartoons. If we're talking cartoons, then like, we have nothing like that. Like, it's so psychological and like deep. And I think they probably were just like, well, we'll test it with. Also, Pokemon had a game that came along with it.
Yeah, so we kind of got a lot of fan base through that as well, probably, didn't it? So,
C. Do we want to move on to C?
Yeah.
So I got Demon Slayer.
That I'm surprised with. I'm surprised Demon Slayer's in C for you.
Where did you think I would have put it?
I would have thought you put it in B, maybe A.
So the thing is, I wanted, like, Pokemon is such a huge deal to me, at least, that like I didn't feel good putting it any lower than B. And then that brings along the issue of like, where am I going to put Demon Slayer and Eva? And as I know, I just said that Dragon Ball is 2-dimensional, but also a part of this is about us and how, like, the anime that we enjoy.
Yeah.
And it's like, I can't, like, Dragon Ball's still been huge in my life. I think probably Demon Slayer has a better story and it does have more interesting characters, but like, Dragon Ball to me is like a huge deal. So if I had to pick between the two, put it this way, if I was to say I had to forget all about one and never watch it and just be like, right, I've never seen that, it would be Demon Slayer, because Dragon Ball's Dragon Ball. So
yeah. Plus there is a comparison on... Go on.
Go on.
Okay. So Demon Slayer is relatively new as well. In fact, it's only got one season so far, so that could play a factor into it.
Yeah, it definitely does. Like I said, like, we grew up with Dragon Ball and stuff, so... but... What was I going to say? F. I had something to say on Dragon Ball.
Comparing it to
Kimetsu. We might come back to it when you're talking about Dragon Ball.
Okay, yeah.
So, and like Evangelion, again, I think it's amazing. I think it's kind of the same as Death Note. It's one of them like cornerstone anime that everyone's heard of and probably everyone should watch because it's a big deal. It's a huge deal in Japan, and there's a reason for that. But it's a little bit too deep for me. Like, it's not one that I could watch over and over and enjoy, whereas all the rest that are above it definitely are ones that I could rewatch a bunch. But that one's kind of like, it's tough. Even like watching it is like, I don't know, did you finish it?
No, I didn't finish it, no. I, in fact, remember very little of it, to be honest.
Yeah, it's just like, it has really cool scenes. The thing is as well, it's been very influential on like Western culture. Like anything to do with mechs and stuff, like pretty much all came from Eva originally, which obviously everyone knows that stuff came from the West anyway. Like that's Japan's thing, but like this was really like what kicked it off. So it has had a huge influence on the world and stuff.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
It was one of the first anime that was like super deep and went into like psychological aspects and stuff. It wasn't all just about like crazy fun and fighting and things like that. So I think that's why it's so regarded as like one of the greatest anime of all time. But with this being a personal list, there's stuff like, I mean, some people would say it's blasphemy to have Kill la Kill above Evangelion, but like it's my list, so.
There is. You've got to remember as well. This is a very biased list and personalized list as well. So,
yep.
Although Eva might have had more impact on the West and on anime in general, it is an element of our personal feelings towards the anime, like what we preferred to watch rather than what was more impactful.
We wanted to help also get across a little bit about like our own personalities as well.
Definitely.
With this, which hopefully it does. Like,
yeah.
If you're a fan of the same kind of things and you can relate to why we put them in this order, then that's kind of the idea of it.
Yeah.
In D, I have thrown in Tokyo Ghoul and the Cabaneri, Kotetsujo no Cabaneri, or Cabaneri of the Iron Fortress, if you are a dubweeb.
Yeah.
Purely because, like, this is the area of the list where it got difficult. Like, we had to put something in everything, and out of all of them, it was literally just like, well, I think the ones above it are better, personally to me. With Cabaneri, it's only a very short anime. It's by the same studio that did Attack on Titan, so it looks just as good. It's animated just as well. If you've never seen it and you like Attack on Titan, definitely go and watch it. But unfortunately, the success of Attack on Titan made it suffer a little bit, because they've had to cut it short. They finished it with a movie purely because like people wanted more Attack on Titan, and it was like, we either work on Cabaneri and then Attack on Titan has a way longer break, or we just scrap it and do Attack on Titan. And more people wanted Attack on Titan, so that's what happened, which is a shame because I think it's a phenomenal anime. But it's very short. I don't see it ever coming back. But if you like Attack on Titan, go and watch it. And then I've got Akame la Kill in my F in the chat, but that's not because I don't like it. It's because
compared to the rest,
we had to stick something in there. And it's also not that memorable for me. Like, I remember the characters and I remember that I enjoyed it, but there's a reason. Like, there has to be a reason. I don't remember it as well as the others. So, like,
yeah. I mean, I remember watching it recently through your recommendation, and when I went to talk to you about it, there was a lot that you didn't remember, and I had to re-explain.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Like, I remember what characters I liked and stuff, but the story has really gotten away from me a little bit. So, whereas something like, let's see, Dragon Ball, like, I haven't rewatched the original Dragon Ball series in a long time, but I still remember it. So, there's reasons that things stick in your head, even though I've literally just said that Dragon Ball doesn't have a good story. But there you go.
It was more memorable.
And then my never seen is Machine Doll and Noragami, because I've never seen them. It's pretty self-explanatory.
Yeah, that's self-explanatory, really. Yeah. Interesting. That is it. A few things did surprise me there, but I'd say I probably agree with most of those.
I think I said Akame la Kill instead of Akame ga Kill, so I'm just gonna correct that, so that anyone watching isn't like, he said the wrong thing again.
False weeb.
He said it wrong. So
yeah, sweet. Okay.
Any shockers there?
I suppose for me, it's more. I'm surprised Death Note was higher than One Piece on your list, just because how often you go on about One Piece and how much you state that you're a fan of it.
Like, Death Note's over, you know what I mean? There's only so much talking you can do about a series that's like been on.
I suppose, yeah. Yeah, that's fair.
Do we want to jump into another one?
Yeah, I'll jump into mine now if you would want to stop this share. There we go. So, let's get mine on the go. Okay. Can you guys confirm if you can see that?
It's loading. Yeah, I can see it.
James?
Yep.
Okay, so this is mine. We'll do the same format. We'll start from the top, go to the bottom. So I only put one in God tier because, for the same reason James said, I grew up with it. I've probably watched it in terms of small clips over and over again 3 times from the entire series. it's just one of those that will never be beat for me. I love it. It's the only one I've ever thought to try and adapt into everyday life. Like I was saying into a Shinobi Striker, the video I was recording the other day, I've got an armband that I actually made and adapted. It was a headband that we switched and made into armbands, and I actually wear that physically out and about because I'm that much of a weeb for it. So that's why that's in God tier. Nothing else can compare to that for me. So that's like the benchmark for me of anime. Not much else needs to be said on that. I think that pretty much states it. S tier. Now these are both quite new series, and these might be somewhat shocking that they're in such a high category, and there might be an element of relevancy behind it, but it's Boku no Hero and Kimetsu no Yaiba. Kind of similar reasons. They kind of changed the... It was, although I agree with James's statement of Boku no Hero was very Naruto-esque, it did then adapt into its own thing. So I remember a lot of the time in the Naruto series, the original Naruto series, it was kind of like the protagonist was having to constantly get stronger, and he was constantly having to try harder and get everyone to acknowledge him. With Boku no Hero, it started off that way, but now it's like the protagonist has the power, he has this ability, and he's trying to tame it. And it's kind of the same with Kimetsu as well. Like, Tanjiro has this ability that he's got, and he's trying to work with it, he's trying to learn how to use it, and I like that. I like seeing that they've got power, but they're growing with it. So those two are in S for that reason. Plus, the animation style for Kimetsu is ridiculous. I love the animation style for Kimetsu. The way the water waves work, and it got to me. When I first saw Tanjiro use like the water slash, I was like, oh boy, it was good. It's the same with Deku's awful one when he used Full Calm as well. Like the Green Lightning was awesome.
Do you think the fact that they're probably the two more recent animes that you are watching has impacted that decision?
Oh, definitely, yeah. I said at the beginning, like, there's probably an element of relevancy around it because they are quite new and I have only tuned into them recently. But I think the way I ranked that was how I felt when I started watching the series compared to the rest of them. So, like, I'll use Attack on Titan, for example. When I first started watching Attack on Titan, I was kind of like, okay, what is going on here? What is happening? With Boku and Kimetsu, I was kind of, oh, okay, straight away. I kind of knew straight away where it was going and what was going on. And I like that a little bit more. I know I said before, it's good to have twists and turns and stuff like that, but it's also having an idea of what's going on rather than just constantly being shocked and constantly being surprised it's a fine balance between it. So yeah. I've pretty much already spoke about Attack on Titan. I was confused at first, but then once I understood the story, I enjoyed it again. Once I understood it, and then there was still twists and turns and shocks that were good, in my opinion. I know a lot of them might have been a bit weird, and I know a lot of people that ended up hating some of the changes that they made because it took away from the original the original few series a little bit, but I enjoyed them.
Can I just say as well, something I forgot to mention on Attack on Titan? The animation on Attack on Titan is absolutely incredible. Like,
oh god,
some of the scenes, some of the fight scenes they have, it's like full like 3D. It's like as though you're watching a movie. Like it has camera movements that like spin around the fight scene and stuff. Like I can't imagine how long that took to animate. Like it's incredible.
Yeah, there was a scene. I think it was where Eren was turned into a Titan at one point, and he was jumping off the wall, and he bites his thumb, and it like scales around him in 3D.
Oh yeah.
And it turns him into the Titan in 3D, and I was like, oh my god, I lost it at that point. Yeah, I thought that was
and that's
sick.
like a couple of seconds of animation, but that probably took them forever to do.
Yeah.
And it pays off. It's like, it's a phenomenal looking anime.
Yeah, definitely. So we're going to jump into Dragon Ball now. Kind of the same reasons, James. The story itself is pretty repetitive. It's like they have a tournament, they have a villain. They might fail against the villain the first time around, but then they'll train, they'll come back, and they'll beat him. But
and then there's a transformation.
Oh, there's always a different transformation in each arc, or maybe even two if you're lucky. But that doesn't take away from the fact that those arcs, despite being repetitive, can still be fun, can still be amazing. I will say
as well, when a new transformation happens, it's always epic. It's never we're doing this again. Like it's always like, oh my god, it's happening.
Yeah, definitely. Like it's like you're waiting for it this time round. You're so used to it. You're like, oh come on, is he going to transform? What are we going to see now? Like I remember first watching the transformation to Super Saiyan 3 and being like, wait, there's another. What can they possibly do with this? And when I saw it, I was like, oh my god, that's ridiculous. But yeah, it's despite being repetitive, it's still great. It's still nostalgic. It's still like I remember going through Dragon Ball Super. I know there's a Z that we've put on the list, but Super was still amazing for me. In fact, Goku Black Arc was one of my favorite all-time Dragon Ball arcs, just because of how it was animated and how it was sort of put to the fans. But despite being repetitive, it's still great. They've got the niche for it, and they're just working with it. They're running with it, and yeah, why change it? Death Note. Right, this is in B for me. I know James put it a lot higher. I think it was an S rank. The only reason I put it in B is because I am an action fan. I do like a lot of action anime, fight scenes, all that sort of stuff. And although I enjoyed Death Note, to say I understood 100% of it is pushing it. There was times, because I watch it in sub as well, so it's even more difficult. Trying to figure out what was going on sometimes was a bit of a nightmare. But when I figured it out, I was like, oh, it's so clever. Like, it got my brain thinking way more than any other anime did. And I think I remember watching it. I think I was on a trip, and I was on the plane, and I was watching it on the plane, and I spammed like 20 episodes without getting bored. Okay, I might have been confused some of that time, but when I got it, and it was great. Tokyo Ghoul. Now, this is lower. I was originally going to put this higher, but I had to be very cynical compared to other series. And granted, the manga itself, I know we said we weren't going to do this, but the manga itself had somewhat of an impact on it, because I remember the end of, I think it was the first series with Kaneki joining Agiri Tree. In the manga, they explained that. In the anime, they didn't. So I was very confused as to be like, wait, they've just tortured him. Why is he joining them? It just didn't make sense to me.
It was a little bit rushed on it.
Yeah, it was rushed, and I think it was because, wasn't it the studio? Didn't the studio have to rush it for some reason? I don't know. That could be false.
I've still not read the manga yet, but I know a lot of people say the manga is way better than the anime.
Yeah, so that has to play a factor into it, because otherwise, pretty much everything would either be a God, S, or A tier for me. So I had to be cynical and compare it to some of the other ones. Right, One Piece is in C for me. Now, I haven't seen much of One Piece, but it's still higher than some of the other stuff I've watched the entire series of. That might surprise some people, but the reason for that is because this few episodes that I did watch, I could definitely picture myself getting into it and enjoying the series a lot. The only thing for me is I have an issue with commitment to it. So I know if something's long, I'm less likely to watch it, and One Piece now is like 800 episodes, so I look at it and go, that's a lot of time. So for that reason, it's got to go a lot lower, but it also was good. I'd be lying to say I didn't enjoy the first few episodes that I watched, especially when like the animation style is very nostalgic of Dragon Ball to me. I don't know if you agree with that, James, but I think because it's old.
Yeah, I don't know how much you watched, obviously, but it was old. Like, it started a long time ago. It's obviously it looks a lot different now to like the original series, but that's because it was. I mean, it basically is a Dragon Ball era anime, so they do look similar.
Neon Genesis. This is also in C. Again, I said I didn't remember much of it before, but after going through and trying to remember some of the episodes and things like that, I remember enjoying it quite a lot. Again, to back up James' point, it was a little bit different. It was psychological. It was deep. And sometimes it's better to have that sort of element to it rather than just like, we're going to fight now. I need to get stronger. Kind of goes in hand with the thing for Death Note as well. So that's why that's in C.
Which also, there is really cool fight scenes in it. It's just that, like, takes... I mean, I don't know. Like, if you've never seen it, the main protagonist is a kid who essentially is like, he's the only one that can do this job and he needs to save the world. Which happens in a lot of animes, right? Like, it basically happened in Naruto, and it basically happens in, like, Boku. It's all about, like, kids and stuff, because kids can relate. It's kids that are watching it. But the difference with Evo was that, like, they went into, like, what's this doing to this kid? Like, can you imagine having that much pressure on you? What is it actually doing to him?
It focuses more on the, like, stress and psyche of a child, really. Yeah. Because that's the only one who can fulfill the role. But it'd be quite bad if I said I enjoyed that, but no, I did. It was a different style on it. It showed the more real aspects of it.
It's an interesting look at
it.
interesting perspective.
Kill la Kill in D. Now, I did enjoy Kill la Kill, but I had to compare it to the rest of the things on this list. And part of that, the reason it's in D is because it is a parody anime, despite it being good. Parody anime are funny to watch, but I can't feel myself getting into them and then as involved in the story as the other anime. Just because I know it's like a parody, I know it's a bit of a joke, I know it's a bit of a piss take on the others. But I still enjoyed it. It was still good. And I don't like it too much when, obviously it's Asian culture to do this, but when certain anime is heavily sexualized.
But it was parody.
It was a parody of anime being sexualized, but in turn it did what it was trying to do, which for that reason I just didn't appreciate it as much as some of the others. I mean, you look at, I know Naruto's God tier, and in the original series he has literally got a jutsu called Sexy Jutsu, so that kind of contradicts my point, but it wasn't really used very often, and it was only used in very comedic scenes. When it went to like all the heavy fight scenes and stuff like that, it was deep, and it was like, you remember these kids are 12 years old and they're like, oh my god. But yeah, that's enough on that one. Akame ga Kill kind of goes in hand with what I said about Tokyo Ghoul. I watched the show recently and it was good. I enjoyed it. It was a very interesting story and lore behind it, but the ending for me was kind of where it fell off. I kind of didn't like. I assume it was because the animation studio, kind of had to stop it because the manga's ongoing, but the anime stopped, and I assume it's because the studio didn't have the funding to do it, or they wanted to focus on other projects or something. But they had to change the ending of the anime, and I didn't really appreciate the ending. But I would be lying if I said I didn't enjoy everything up to that point. Pokemon. Pokemon's in D, but it's only because of like the lack of consistency in it. Like, I remember as a kid watching it, playing the games got me into it as well. Like, I was further on to James' point before, it's got a huge franchise, and I got into the anime through the game. I was like playing the game, I was like, oh, they've got an anime or cartoon about this game that I play, I might watch it. And I remember being such a strategic, yeah, there you go, some features, some cameos there. I remember watching the game and being like so tactical with it and being like, okay, so that's a rock type, so I can't use Charmander for it. I better use a grass type, things like that. And then you go and watch the anime and it's like, Ash will throw out a Pikachu against an Onix, and I'd be there like, no, what are you doing? Why? What are you doing? Also, like,
yeah, but
epic.
Pikachu is clever because he broke the sprinkler. So,
but that's like, why didn't I get that option in the game?
Your Pikachu is dumb. Sounds like a you problem.
It's I mean, it's just because there's no consistency with like the like common sense. A lot of it I would be like pulling me hair going like, I know it's like nostalgia and it's meant to be about companionship and stuff like that, but there's an episode where Ash potentially would have evolved Pikachu into a Raichu, and Raichu's one of my all-time favorite Pokemon. And I was like, yes, it's gonna happen. We're gonna see Raichu as like one of the main Pokemon. And he just went, no, he's my friend. And I was like, what the fuck? I was so disappointed. But it was just like,
no, but Pikachu's an icon. You can't evolve Pikachu.
I mean, that's ultimately why they kept him as Pikachu, because he's the main. I mean, look at the thumbnail. It's literally Pikachu. But
he's the Mickey Mouse of Pokemon.
Literally. Now, I'll move on to my F in the chat, which is Machine Doll. Now, Machine Doll is on this list because I've watched it, and it's an anime that takes place in Liverpool, so we thought it'd be better to include it on this list. There you go. The reason it's an F in the chat is because I started watching it recently. The other guys won't be able to have much input on this, but it was cool initially. The start of the series was like really cool because they animated a lot of the actual Liverpool scenes. Like Lime Street was animated. I think Edge Hill was animated. They had the Albert Dock animated. All things like that. And it was cool to see them in animation. But the story, I couldn't forgive the story because it was very rushed and very weird. Like, I remember finishing an arc and then something happened in it. I'm not going to say spoilers, obviously, but I remember seeing the next arc and I was being like, hang on, what is happening here? They went like that a few minutes ago. I'm being just so confused. I imagine because the studio had to rush it, but Yeah, just because it's got less consistency with any of the others on that list. Although it was cool, that's the only reason I actually put it on the list, because it's Liverpool and it's cool to see some of the animated scenes. But in terms of being an anime, it wasn't great. But I mean, I still enjoyed it. It doesn't mean it sucks. It just means I enjoyed it less than the others. And then obviously, never seen / need to watch Noragami and Cabanari, the Iron Fortress. Don't really need to go into much of them. I was meant to watch Cabanari, but forgot to. Sweet, that's mine. Morgan?
What are we going on?
Right, let me stop watching yours. Okay, so as you can see, I've watched a lot less than the other guys. Look at that never seen list. I mean, okay. So, in my god tier list is Attack on Titan, because it's the one that got me into anime, and just like I can rewatch it so many times and still be completely shocked by like everything that happens, and I just love the characters, and I mean Levi Ackerman. Anyway,
so
Levi,
some waifus.
Levi, if you're watching, hit a girl up.
Slide into those DMs.
Yeah.
Okay, so in my S tier.
Also, just before we carry on, James, waifus deserve their own podcast.
Okay, it's true. It's very true.
Stay tuned for that. It's coming soon.
Okay, S tier Tokyo Ghoul. Again, it was one of the ones that really got me into anime, and I'd never really seen like a super bloody, gory anime before, and that one kind of like got me into that kind of stuff, like animated blood, which was cool. And the characters are awesome, and I like cosplaying the characters as well. So,
that's fair enough.
Yeah. In A, I've got Kill la Kill, because again, it's another one that I can rewatch like time and time again and just not get bored. I love that you've got like this super like badass female character, and like she's taking the piss out of like the way anime make girls wear all like these really scantily clad clothes. And
also, yeah, just to mention about what Jake was saying, it was like it became what it was trying to make fun of. Ryuko hated the fact that her costume went like that. She didn't like having her body on show and stuff. So
yeah,
it kind of did address that as an issue.
It wasn't like, yeah, I should have clarified that. It wasn't like ironically it became what it was trying to take the piss off. It knew it was becoming that, so it kept the main character not about that. Basically, it kept readdressing the fact that the main character hated that's what this is.
Yeah, and it like she stayed badass, and like it showed more of her personality, that she was like she didn't like that kind of stuff. So I liked her character, and she was done really well. I like the story arcs as well. Like everything's just really well fleshed out, and again that means I can rewatch it again, just never get bored of it. Okay, B. This is the one that the other guys haven't seen. It's Noragami, and it's like I just love the way it's set in like modern day Japan, but they still make it so magical and like fantasy and everything. It's
Do you mind?
really
Because I don't know if James is in the same situation. Giving us a bit of a rundown of what the main plot is. I don't know anything. Is it like a detective type of anime thing or what?
So the main character is called Yato, and he's like a god. They have gods like that everyone has like a shrine to, and like they have in Japan, which is really cool because that kind of makes it feel more real. And like people can ask those gods to do things to them, like for them, by giving them cash and things. And like Yato is like, he's not really well known, so like the whole story is him trying to become like this big god that everyone worships, and he meets characters along the way who go through stuff like him, and it's cool the way like they've got this trio of friends, and they're just really well fleshed out characters, and they all make the story really interesting. So I'd recommend that to everyone.
Yeah.
What was the main character's name?
Yato.
Oh yeah, Yato told us that before.
Yeah. Okay, so C, I've got Kimetsu no Yaiba and Boku no Hero, because they're in C because I've watched a bit of them, but not all of them. But like I do feel like I'll really enjoy them once I properly get into them. But Kimetsu no Yaiba, I feel like I kind of enjoy that more because I kind of like the fantasy kind of stuff more than I feel like Boku no Heroes like superheroes and kind of sci-fi-ish more than So yeah, I enjoy Kimetsu more. Pokemon I've got in D because I watched that when I was like super young, and I don't have much of a memory of watching it. It was always more the games that I got into, but I do like, obviously I love the characters because I mean look at him. But yeah, I always enjoyed the games more, so that's why I put it so low. Otherwise, like if I'd watched it more recently, then I feel like it would be higher because I don't have much of a memory of it.
Yeah.
I've also put Akamega Kill in F in the chat because I watched like half the season years ago and then just dropped it and didn't pick it up again. And I just like the characters are great, but I feel like I just didn't really get into the story and it wasn't that easy to watch for me. So I've put that in F in the chat because it just didn't.
Yeah,
I didn't get through the whole thing, so
that's fair. And then obviously the never seen / need to watch section is
there's a lot of things in there.
It's self-explanatory. We haven't seen it, so we can't comment on it. Sweet. So that's hopefully gave you a bit of an insight about what we like as anime and what we look for and what we enjoy. I think next what we're gonna do is just kind of transition onto either current topics or what certain culture is like in Japan, well, Asia in general, but specifically Japan, with certain topics. So does anyone in particular want to go first with either culture or current news? Or I could lead it.
You can go first.
I can go first? Okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
So my current news is, well, it is current news, it's not culture, it's current news. It's regarding...
My God. Hang on. Let's do it. Right. It's the 10 o'clock news. Okay. After the bong, you're going to tell me the news. All right. Welcome to the 10 o'clock news with me, James. Today, coming up. Bong.
Go.
Okay, so the current news is this.
The headline is
this new Nintendo World theme park that's opening up in Universal Studios in Osaka. There should be some images on screen at the moment. What I might do is just share my screen to the other guys so they can see what I'm referring to in this. So let me just do that real quick. So it's this Super Nintendo World theme park. It'll feature Mario-themed wristbands and rides, and it's in Osaka Universal. They've got one, they're opening one in Japan, then later they'll be doing US and Singapore as well, so that'll be interesting. Looking at that thumbnail, or that concept art, that would look sick in real life.
It looks so cool.
That would look
you're
awesome.
Just in Mario, you're in the game yourself.
I like it when theme parks do that kind of thing, where they adapt their actual art style to real life. Like, it's not just building actual buildings themed that way with like stickers and stuff or decals and stuff on the wall. Like, it's actually designed to be part of that world. I love it. I think it's cool.
Yeah, it looks sick.
Awesome.
They've got particular like wristbands and stuff, so you can. I think it's a lot of it's AR. I haven't been able to find a lot about it because most of the stuff's in Japanese. But I think that a lot of it is AR inspired, and like it can sync up to a lot of stuff. So if you're on certain rides, you can like interact with them. I'm not too sure how it works with that. I think you go on certain areas of the park and you can collect coins with them.
That's sick.
So you're, as it says at the end of the quote, literally a life-size living video game because you're in the park going around collecting these coins. I imagine there'll be some sort of challenge at the end of it as well. You can like compare with friends and stuff like that. I might put like a video on screen at the moment, but I don't want to do this in case of F's anything up. So I just thought it was really cool.
Valid.
I can't wait to see when that's open.
When's that opening?
I've seen like.
It said. Let's have a look. I don't think it's got an official release, but I think it was like later on in 2021.
I remember seeing like leaked photos on the internet of it being constructed and built and stuff, and it literally looks like the game, which is just going back to what you were saying before. Like, you want it to look like you are actually in it, and it looks so cool.
Rather than just being like themed buildings with like decals on. Normal buildings with decals on and stuff like that. It's actually themed to be like what it would be like in real life, which is great. I love it. Hopefully there'll be like, if we go back, because we are planning to go back to Japan. I know me and James got it booked later on this year if that still goes ahead, but if we do a Weeb Warriors in Japan in the future, we'll go there and we'll see just a bunch of Yoshis running about.
Yoshi.
Who knows?
That'd be adorable.
Yoshi, sorry. So that's pretty much mine. I think it's just, it'll be cool to see it in real life. And it
Yeah,
sounds interesting.
good.
It sounds a lot. It sounds very interesting to see what it would be like to play that real life video game.
Yeah, I'm excited for that.
So that's my input for that.
So I wanted to go down the culture route, and this is a little bit of a last minute decision by me, so bear with me. But as Jake just mentioned, we've been to Japan already. I've been a few times, and both of us have tattoos. So I wanted to just talk about the stigma around Japan and its tattoos. So I'm gonna just mention my personal experience because I think everyone already knows, or at least
Sorry, I'm not
what they
flexing.
think.
I'm not flexing. I'm just showing the tattoo.
What they think Japan is like. Like a lot of people think that tattoos are like a no-go in Japan. Like you can't have them on show and whatnot. And I think it was like that once, but in my experience, having been multiple times, it's not as bad as people make it out to be. So like, there were certain places that don't allow tattoos, and the majority of them will tell you, they'll either be like, it'll be signposted or it'll be like on their website or whatever. So they'll let you know before it happens that that's the case. Like, don't come in here with your tattoos on show, you're not getting in. No one's going to kick you out of anywhere. They'll just ask you to cover them up. No one's going to shoot you. The Yakuza aren't going to come and get you or anything like that. Like, I've seen some crazy theories. So like the whole stigma with Japan and tattoos comes from the Yakuza. Like, if you've seen like the full body art tattoos, that like traditional Japanese stuff, like that was all gangster stuff, and that's why they don't allow it in like bathhouses and restaurants, is because they don't want to look like they support or associate with criminal organizations. And it's kind of it comes off the back of that. But like, Japan are advancing just as much as anyone else in the world. They're aware that like, if you've got tattoos, it doesn't make you a gangster.
Yeah, I think an element of that as well.
Times are changing.
An element of that as well is probably your nationality. They probably look at like us, who are obviously Western, and they go, "Oh, they've got tattoos, but they're not from here." So that's less likely to mean that, you know, they're obviously not going to be a part. I mean, could you really picture me being a part of the Yakuza? Like, look at me. It's not happening.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, they're not stupid. They know. It's like, and as I said, there's not many places anymore that are really have that stigma around it. There's not many places we went to that. I think the only place off the top of my head that I can remember was the Robot Restaurant. They like categorically do not allow tattoos on show, but we still went. It's just the case. Actually, we didn't go, did we?
No,
I have been.
Go. James has been.
And obviously I got in. I just wore long sleeves so they couldn't see my tattoos. It wasn't an issue. So it's kind of just a thing of like, if you've got tattoos and you are planning on going to Japan or you're worried about it, like, don't be, because it's not a huge deal at all. It's at least not as people make it out to be as well. I remember when I was first getting my tattoos and people knew that I liked Japan and was like going to Japan and stuff, and they'd say to me like, "Oh, what are you gonna do about your tattoos?" And they don't like them and all this and that. It's like, it's all like fear mongering, and it's not real. It's not like, I'm sure it was like that once, but it's not anymore. Like, it's fine. So
I remember, because this was mine and Morgan's first trip to Japan. Back in October. I remember when I first went, a lot of people were telling me the same thing of like, "Oh, you got tattoos, you're gonna have to keep them covered." Oh,
people
blah blah blah.
were even telling me, and I haven't got tattoos, so I was
yeah,
so useful.
It's but when we got there, like when we went there, it was hot quite a lot of the days, so we were walking around in t-shirts and stuff. And obviously, I've got this giant one on my arm, and that's not like, no, I never experienced any sort of judgment or anything along those lines.
actually, I did have an experience regarding my tattoos in Japan last time when we were there.
I know what you're going to say.
This is a Japanese-inspired tattoo, obviously. Little geisha there. And on our most recent trip, we were in a bar, and there was like some old Japanese dude there, stood at the bar next to me as we were ordering drinks. He noticed it, asked me a few questions about it, whether it was Japanese or not, ended up buying me a drink. So, if that's an example of the lack of stigma around tattoos in Japan, then I don't know what is. Like, there you go. They're
and
not
it speaks
bothered.
to how lovely the people there are. Like, everyone's just
yeah. That we can obviously cover in a future culture section, but like the people, like manners and stuff, and general day-to-day life of people in Japan is amazing. But that's kind of going off the topic onto a different culture thing, so we're going to avoid that one for now and use that potentially in a future video. But yeah, there's almost no stigma around them, so it was probably just rumours that have failed to have been quashed. because I never noticed any sort of judgment or any sort of what's the word? I can't remember. Like any sort of like stigma or judgments upon me personally when I had my tattoos out most of the time. People were still helpful. People were still friendly. People didn't give me evils on the train. Anything like that didn't happen, despite people telling me it would. So, yeah.
Good.
In regards to culture in Japan and how it differs from here, Morgan, I don't know if you've got anything to say about that.
Maid Cafes! So
We found the title of this video.
oh god. So like I didn't really know much about Maid Cafes like before we went. I'd heard of them like animes and things like that, but I'd never known like
Just
how
to
huge they were.
clarify, if you are not aware, maid cafes are stereotypical like little restaurants or literal cafes, or even bars in some situations where the waitresses are themed and they kind of, I mean, the clue's in the name. It's a maid cafe. They're meant to be waiting on you. They're all themed. They're meant to be more friendly towards you rather than doing like a job. They're meant to be serving you. So I should get that out before we carry on.
Yeah. But there's so many different variations of maid cafes as well. So it's not just like your typical maid. There's like some with cat ears, and there's just so many different types. But like they are literally all over Japan. Like, how many did we see on like one street?
Oh, there were so many. They're huge.
Like ridiculous amounts. But yeah, it was like there's
so many.
I feel like there's kind of a stigma around them as well. Like people more so over here think it's weird. Like
in Western culture, yeah, it's definitely seen as a strange, I guess business. I guess it is a business.
But then over there, it's just completely normal.
It's more to do with the fact that people over here don't really understand what it is.
Yeah, I think they kind of miss the point of it.
People think
a lot because they look at it at face value and go, "That's strange. That's weird. That's a little bit perverted." But when you start to break down why they have them, it kind of makes sense. It's kind of a little bit sad as well, to be honest. I remember thinking like piecing the puzzle together and being like, "Oh, actually, that's kind of a really good idea." So we'll get more into that in a bit. Go on.
Yeah. That was all. I don't know what else to say on them.
Oh, no, James. I'm talking to James. You wanted to say something?
Yeah, I was just going to talk about the reason they exist.
Go on.
It's largely due to the fact that, first of all, Japan has a massive population. And if you don't know already, the pressure on, if you're born a Japanese male, the pressure on you to sort of like hold your household together, continue in your father's footsteps, be like the man of the house is like
I think that's
massive.
not just particularly with families as well. It's like in general. Like if something needs doing in general, typically people will look to go to a man. It's an element of almost sexism a little bit, but it's like,
I mean, the thing like Japan, like let's be clear, is hugely sexist.
Yeah.
Like the pressure that's put on males is totally different to females. Like what's expected of a Japanese male is completely different. The reason the suicide rate is so high is like there's a reason for it. And obviously you've seen like the over-sexualization of women in anime and manga and stuff. Like Japan does kind of have a little bit of an issue with sexism and stuff. But
and it's in a different way than most other places as well. So like in Western situations when sexism takes place, it's typically beneficial for the man and not beneficial for a woman. But in Japan, with their type of sexism, I think it's safe to say that almost no one is a winner with it. Like, males have got this added pressure and this, like, spot to fulfill. But also, women are not really taken as seriously. So almost, like, it's not beneficial for anyone in that situation.
But to get back to the Maid Cafe thing, like, the reason they're sort of so popular is because the working hours for like a Japanese male is like chaos. They're literally coming home from work for like, and they've got like a couple of hours to themselves, and then they're up early the next day and they're back in work again. So they don't have a chance to meet people, they don't have a chance to socialize, they don't have a chance to make friends even. So it's kind of a place to go and just like hang out with someone who is gonna hang out with you, because that's why they're there. Escape. Yeah, you can like I mean, they're not just bringing you food and drinks. They'll sit down, they'll eat with you, they'll play games with you, and there's nothing seedy or pervy about it. Like, it never escalates from that. It's not. It's not like.
I'd say it can.
It's not an escort service.
I'd say it's not an escort service, but I'd say people definitely do go there for that element of it. Like, there were some people there that we saw, which, no offense, but you could tell they were going there to try and get some sort of.
But you have to remember that they're not getting that anywhere else.
I mean, they're not, but
so
basically, I just want to compare it to. We saw a guy in there who'd obviously been like trying to almost sexualize one of the maids because he must have been there every day. He kept constantly talking to the same one and things like that. But then we also saw two just normal friends that were in there that just looked like they were in there just to talk to someone. They looked like they were just in there just to have a chat with someone and to play games with someone else. And that was sweet. It was like, I was looking at it like, oh, fair enough. That makes sense.
I mean, I don't think there's anything wrong with having a favourite and always wanting the same one and that, because that's kind of the point.
Yeah.
Like, if you're going there for companionship, then you kind of want to do that.
Yeah, you don't want to have to build
more...
the relationship different with a different person each time.
Yeah, but I mean, I just wanted to stress really that there's nothing sort of seedy about it. It's just like people are just trying to chill out and like have a good time and whatever. I don't necessarily know why they need to be dressed up in costumes, but that's Japan. Like,
if it is taken that way,
cosplay at a convention.
If it is taken that way, it's because people are ruining the image of it. They're not set up to be pervy. They're not set up to be seedy. And if it is seen that way, it's because there's typically people there that are just taking advantage of it.
It's just fun, and I also think it's a staple of Japan itself. Like, I think if you're going, you should definitely at least go to one just to like see the experience. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. What we should probably mention as well, there'll be a better picture on the screen now, but when you go to them, they get you like these, depending on what the theme of the Maid Cafe is, you get like certain things for it. So we get these cards, these like mine and James's are called master cards, because the one we went to was a typical cliche Maid Cafe. So they referred to us as master.
We're level one master.
Yeah. We're newbie masters. So yeah, they referred to us as masters every time they spoke to us, which was also weird at first.
Speaking about the maid thing, favorite maid, it's also signed by the maid that was there with you. Yeah. So
and names in Japanese, which is really cool.
Believe the idea is if you keep going back, you get like a point on your card each time, and eventually you can upgrade ranks, and you get like a silver card and a gold card and a platinum card. So
that's with this one anyway. I don't know if any others. Yeah, I don't know if any others do different.
This was at home, the Maid Cafe at home. There's like a bunch of different like
themes,
what's the name? Company
categories. Yeah.
Like the most popular one is Maid Dreaming. I imagine you will see if you are there. Plenty of them.
Or you'll hear the song.
Yep. Maid Dreaming. But there's tons of different ones. Like, we didn't go this time, but there's maid bars as well, which are open later, and you just go there to have a drink, like alcohol, get the best with the boys and that.
Yeah.
Well, interesting you say with the boys, because I was just about to say it's also not exclusively a male thing. Obviously, we've got Morgan, who is our resident female of the FishStakes group, but she still went and she still enjoyed it. They just sort of altered it a little bit different. So although me and James,
it's a really nice atmosphere. Like, everyone's just really kind. And it's
So one of the main differences that I kind of wanted to talk about as well is, like, me and James have just obviously spoke about, we were referred to as masters, but they adapted for Morgan and they called her, what was it, princess?
I'm a princess.
Yeah, so she got a princess card and we got master cards. So despite it being a typical maid cafe, which you'd think, you know, most females probably wouldn't be into, you can still go. You can still have a fun time.
Yeah, there was other females there as well, like in groups of friends and stuff. It's just like a good little experience for everyone.
And that wasn't like a crazy one-off. Like, I've been to a bunch of different ones and I've seen females like always. It's not like, it's definitely not something that females can't do or like a male-only thing.
No, God, no. Yeah,
it was cool. Interesting. Yeah, it was very interesting. When we went, it was kind of like we kept constantly getting referred to as master, which was weird for me at first.
Yeah, it's weird to hear.
Yeah, also, like, it's kind of, they'll make you do stupid stuff. Like, they sort of,
just about to get onto that.
They take the piss out of you. Do you know what I mean? It's not like,
they get their own back.
Yeah. So you've got also, if you go in there, You've got to expect it. We had to make a
We should.
spell with the with the
We
food.
cast
and that.
spells.
Yeah.
What was it?
But
It
like,
was
yeah, if you go in there, just expect, like, be prepared to be like, to have a little bit of fun, and it's not like, you know.
Don't go in
But
with a
don't be
serious
embarrassed 'cause everyone
mind.
does
Yeah,
it.
just
Yeah. Also, don't be embarrassed. Yeah, just
Yeah.
go and enjoy it.
if
Do
you
what is asked
if you
of
go
you.
in embarrassed and you do all these things, you're making it worse for yourself. If you've just got to commit to the part,
Everyone has to do it. So
everyone has to get involved, and everyone has to do it, and it's better for yourself and for everyone else. It makes it way less awkward.
Everyone's
Just
going to
commit.
judge you if you can't do the spell, so just do the spell.
Yeah, it's actually the opposite. If you don't take part, then you're gonna get judged. So, yeah, it was interesting. It was an interesting experience. I was a bit concerned when I went first. I was like, "What am I got myself into here?" Especially when I have to start doing the spell. I was like, "I'm not about this." But then once you realize you've got to take part, once you realize, okay, this is what it is. I enjoyed it. I thought it was.
They
fun.
all
That's
have
it, yeah.
like themed food as well. Actually,
Oh,
another thing you can do is when you have a like a favorite maid, there's like a photo service as well, and you can also, in certain ones that are themed differently, it's like you can have that maid go up and sing karaoke, so like entertain you, or you can go and get a photo with them or whatever. Which I actually have a photo from a previous year that I'll get Jake to throw up on the screen, just so you can see the kind of thing that goes on. They have like themed food. They'll like draw little pictures on your food and stuff and whatever.
Oh, yeah,
it's just like a good time. They'll also like they come over. They try and sit at the tables for like as long as they're allowed and talk and chat and stuff. It's harder if you're foreign like we were, because they've got to kind of try and struggle through the language, but
we got really
they
like
have
one
a
who
go.
spoke really good English, didn't we?
Yeah,
I think she was like specifically picked for us because they
Yeah.
saw we were Western.
She said that, didn't she? She was like, I've been asked to come over to you guys because my English is specifically a lot better than the other people. But it's good that they did that.
Yeah, that just means they tried to accommodate us. They weren't just like, well, unlucky.
I remember
They
as
weren't
well.
like playing favoritism. They were like, okay, sorry, go on.
I remember like I don't know where they are, so I can't show them now, but we can put a picture in or something. I think it was near the end. They came over with like little gifts for us, and it was like a pair of chopsticks, but it had like the Japanese flag and the British flag.
Oh yeah. In fact, I've
You'll
got
have
mine.
them probably. I don't know where they are. I know I've seen them, but
I've got mine right here.
there you go. But yeah, they came over with like a little gift for us, which was really sweet, and I wasn't expecting it, so it was really nice of them. But yeah,
There's the flag on it.
It's there.
Oh yeah, there it is.
in one of the corners.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was just really sweet. So they must have them to like give out if they get people from.
I wonder if
other
they've
countries and
got
stuff, which
like.
is cool.
I wonder if they've got tons for like each different country.
Yeah,
Shout out
they must
to
do.
At
I think
Home.
if they get like foreigners or something, it'll be like little souvenirs for them. So,
Yeah.
which is a really
That's
cool idea. Like I wasn't expecting anything like that.
F in the chat for the country that doesn't have a sticker. If you go and you don't get one of these, it's because they don't know what country you're from.
Oh, they don't know your flag.
It's a little
Which is an F in
insider
the chat.
information.
Yeah. Also, we should probably mention that we got assumed that we were American a lot. That was interesting.
Yes.
She assumed she was American. She assumed we were American at first, didn't she?
Oh yeah.
That's because America sort of run the world, and if you're a white Western, like male, female, they're just going to assume straight away you're American. But the thing about that is, England, like, I feel like, again, shout out to America and that. But
Now you're watching.
people aren't massive fans of America
Yeah,
around the world.
I was just about to say, do you
So-
remember when she found out we weren't American and she's
Yeah.
pecked up? She was like, "Oh, you're not
I
American.
will say,
Oh, that's great."
They were a lot more. Also, you kind of weren't that nice to Japan a long time ago, so you know.
Yeah, he did drop 2 bombs on
I
them.
mean, obviously that's in the past. Like it's not like that now,
Sure.
but it's still this kind of.
I'm not saying they don't like Americans. I'm just saying they
No,
definitely
no.
like.
But like,
There's
They
a
definitely
grudge.
like the British. So
There's a grudge. There's somewhat of a grudge there. But yeah, so I think that's gonna
they're
wrap.
very accommodating people.
Heavily. One thing I
But,
do want to sort of back that up is just before we head off is I mean, we'll talk about this in a future video in more depth, but there was like a time we went to one of the attractions and it was quite far away. As we were coming back, there was a woman there who could speak no English, but she still tried her best to help us. So they were all very accommodating people, all super nice.
There was also the thing with the trying to find a Liverpool game, but we might talk about that in a separate podcast.
We will.
One thing I want to say before we wrap up is the plan going forward for this podcast at least for the like very near future, is to talk about. Obviously, we've mentioned we all went to Japan. We want to do a series on things to do in different areas of Japan. So we're going to cover all the sort of popular areas of Tokyo and outside of Tokyo where we went, like Kyoto and Osaka. Talk about the interesting things to do there, what you might like to do. If you're planning on going, it would be a good idea to watch them, get some ideas of things to do.
Yeah.
And we're also going to try and do some specials on like the big things like Disney and Pokemon and stuff like that. So stay tuned for those things coming in the future.
Mm-hmm.
Should we mention the sub-series from that as well, which would be like 3 things to do in?
Yeah, I mean, we can talk about that when it's up and coming. But
yeah. I mean, it's the hints in the name. But yeah, that's
just
coming.
Stay tuned, especially if you are interested in going to Japan, and especially if you've never been before. Then.
And it's coming from 2 people who've never been before as well, so.
And someone who's been tons, so there's a lot of range there.
You've got a variety.
A lot of information. And a lot of range in activities as well.
Oh, hell yeah.
We might be weebs, but we didn't just look at anime-related stuff, so.
We actually did take part in their culture a lot, so. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? Well, this has been the first Weeb Warriors podcast. Thank you very much for watching our lovely faces. Stay tuned for the next one. It will be a bi-monthly podcast, just because we don't want to run out of stuff to do. But definitely stay tuned for the next one. So for that, you're going to have to subscribe down below. And you want to click the bell as well, so you get notified when we do go live button with the next episode.
Also, maybe like comment with some anime recommendations and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially for Morgan. In fact, you can start with the ones that you left in the iron.
Yeah. I'll get right on that, don't worry.
What you can do is send us your anime list for the ones we've done. So I'll put a link in the description of the anime list.
Oh, you know what we should do? We should do a post show called Morgan's Musings, where she talks about the animes that she hasn't watched yet.
Sweet.
Like Naruto and stuff.
And the reason why she hasn't watched them.
Jesus.
Stay tuned for that. Never. But yeah, so what we'll do as well, we'll put any articles, any sort of news, anything interesting in the description about anything we talked about. So Maid Cafes, the Nintendo Land, anything like that. We'll slap that down in the description as well. But yeah, thank you very much for
Thanks for watching.
It's been fun.
Stay tuned for next time.
Matane.
Princess signing out. Oh.